This podcast is brought to you by Australia's LGBTQIA+ community media organisation, Joy. Keep Joy on air by becoming a member, a subscriber or donate. Head to joy.org.au. Joy, a diverse sound for a diverse community.
We acknowledge the traditional owners of the land, the Boonwurrung people of the Kulin Nation. We pay our respects to their elders past, present and emerging, and Aboriginal people who are listening. We acknowledge that sovereignty was never ceded.
Welcome to Still Here, Still Queer, the show that celebrates the fierce, funny and fabulous lives of our rainbow elders. Each week we share stories, music and conversations that honour our rich history, challenge ageism and spark connection across generations. Whether you're a proud elder, a curious ally or just here for the glitter and wisdom, welcome. We're still here, still queer, and we're not going anywhere.
We are absolutely not going anywhere, and you're on Joy, and yes, it's still here, still queer, where we are dedicated to the voices, stories and lived experiences of older LGBTIQ plus people. And tonight we have some great guests. We have Rowena, who is the program lead of Pride and Ageing over at the Switchboard, and Merrin, who is one of the coordinators working with her for the Golden Plains region. And Pride in Ageing is about co-imagining our futures as we age. And it's a project of Switchboard and partially Victorian government funded, is that right?
Absolutely. Yeah. It's a multi-year, multi-regional project. For the first time really listening and hearing from older LGBTI people in the regions, what do they need to live a safe, connected and authentic life where they are. And it's a really exciting project to be part of. One of the things we'd heard very early on from community about the importance of having regional base workers, which Merrin is one of them. And that's, really important that they're local people who understand whether it be the geography or what was the weather conditions coming up, those sort of local knowledge or understanding of some of those opportunities or issues really helps build some of that trust very early on. And that's what you need to do when you want a really authentic co-design project such as this.
Okay. And you had a lot of workshops around the state. How did they all go?
So what we initially did, though, is that we did a lot of consultation with regional rural people about where do we put these regional workers. And, we heard a lot from people about, whether it was the Dan Andrews sense of ring of steel. A lot of projects didn't go past whether it be Sale or whether it be Colac or where to go. Where do we need to be? Where do we need to put some resources that have never been before? So we did have a lot of consultation working with Rural Pride Australia and Daniel Whithouse about where we're going to put. So from the beginning, we've been listening to community and, we've ended up with the fabulous Jen in Warrnambool, the fabulous Natalie in Wodonga, the fabulous Daniel in Gippsland, and, of course, the fabulous Merrin in Golden Plains. So, that was the first really important element, right? And, listening to our lived experience experts. Then the next element was get the regional workers coming in place, and all along we've been listening. And the first most important thing that's been said time and time again, first of all, before they even want to tell us anything else, they just want connection, social connection. So, across the state, we've been doing a lot of that social connection.
And what sort of things have you done?
So a lot of them have been quite small in that sort of small coffee kind of catch up, 2 or 3 people. People are still feeling their way. Like, we've got to build trust, for people to be able to tell their stories, to be, share that vulnerability of their part of their life. We just can't go in going, tell us everything. The other thing we did here too as well, community saying no one's ever really asked us genuinely what we want. And, the solutions of come here or go there, but people want to live where they live. They want to be safe. Yep. And like I said, safe, connected, and be able to be authentic. So it's a lot of that, one of the mottos we have is co-design. It takes time. Because a lot of that too, community said, that's co-design when you're coming in and you're pushing and you're wanting these big, razzy kind of everyone gathering. This is the quote. They actually said, That's how government does it, right? So very early on, they're saying, we just want to, talk and chat. We've got to build up for us as Switchboard that accountability, that trust, starting to listen. So that was, a lot of the end of last year. We're really now at that stage of doing that gathering across. But we were doing, say, in Gippsland, Forever Rainbows. That was expanded out. The Gippsland Pride Initiative have done an amazing job for the last 5 years with their Forever Rainbows in Trafalgar. So we said,
Trafalgar.
Yeah, it's Trafalgar.
I've been through Trafalgar.
Oh, it's a fantastic place. Got a great bakery on the way there.
Oh, fantastic.
Great cream and jam donuts, can I tell you? Or Long Johns, as you call them in Victoria.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we utilise them. We're not here to take, we're not here to kind of push out any other players. We're here to elevate other players as well. So Gippsland Pride Initiative are incredibly generous to be able to use that model to bring people together in Forever Rainbows in Bairnsdale. And then, with them, we're looking to expand down. The other regions are looking at similar kind of models of just getting people together. We know when people come together, magic happens. And when you bring older people together, it is mind-blowing, fantastic, because these are experienced, knowledgeable people. They've been through a lot. They've, seen it all on their shoulders. So much of us, are elevated and are able to, climb high because of them. And already we've been able to, do some of the, the elements of capacity building some of those organisations where they are. So they do feel safe, right? And the connection is continuing on, because at the end of this project, if more people are feeling safe, connected, we've been able to elevate what are those things that help them be authentic. We're not going to be able to do it all, right? Community health organisations where they aren't going to be able to do it all. So there'll be other levers we have to push up to government, federal, state, local. Whatever.
Absolutely.
But it's just the first time we've really had a project dedicated to listening and hearing from old people and their stories. And it is absolutely a privilege every day to be able to be involved in something so remarkable.
I can imagine that. I mean, a lot of these people have probably it's yours is regionally based, isn't it?
Yes, and I think that's really exciting.
There is another part of the project which we interviewed Peter Norton, I think, some time back, which is a metropolitan area based.
Well, I think
program as well of visitations, etc.
Yeah, and that community visitor program has been since 2015. What's exciting as part of this Pride in Ageing funding, you had to be on an aged care package to be involved in Out and About. Now you don't. So we've got some funding to be able to offer that for a lot of people, because also too in regional and rural, they don't necessarily want to be connected into the aged care facility, whether it because they don't identify as I needing that, or, they're not feeling safe. A lot of times, one of the things we've heard very early on from community was, these are people who've had a lifetime of decentering themselves. Don't worry about me, but, go and see Joe down the road there. They need help, right? So it can be really, difficult to go, yes, but you can have a piece of that pie too. It's not, something that you worry about them. But there's just a lot of people in the community, when we talk to them, are not wanting to centre themselves. And there's a history, I think, a strong history of that caring for that broader community, for our regional rural elders.
Yes, and have you come across areas where they're not supported in their regional communities?
Absolutely, of course.
I imagine there would be. There are more and more of regional centres where they are, where there are supports, but there would be a lot of little towns where there wouldn't be.
And I think too, it does come down to certainly some of the community, or, but even in those places where, say, me as a big old city slicker might kind of be challenged, they find ways of survival, right? And that's also really what we're documenting as well, how they can go, well, look, this is my wife. I say that, but I'm not necessarily going down waving a flag, banner or whatever. But their way of surviving and still being able to do those things is also really fascinating for us as city people to understand what pride means. Very different things to people. It's not always about having a fantastic, it is important, but that's not all pride is, having a parade and waving flags.
Yeah, and if you're looking at people who are in the older age brackets, that's even less likely.
Absolutely.
I imagine.
Yes. No, absolutely. Because, I think you asked me later on and we'll play a song. And the song I chose was because when I think about, the HIV AIDS epidemic, what happens, it was so many regional rural champions who were making that happen, phone trees, reaching out, visiting people. They were doing some amazing work that probably really has never been properly, recognised for our community, or all people who have lived through it and, are using those skills of organising, right? Doing that collective action, and we're tapping into that. There's, like I said earlier, so much knowledge, so much experience. But, for a lot of them too, it's like, well, so many projects don't really do proper engagement. You know what I mean? It's kind of like, come in and tell me, you don't go back. You don't do that accountability. They're wise. They're not going to let us get away with that superficial. But so we're tapping in, and I do like to think that we are. I'm not saying we are completely there yet, but we have, really worked hard on making sure we're building that trust and that accountability, and letting them know that their voice means something.
Okay, well, on that note, we'll just see if Merrin's there. Are you there, Merrin? Can we hear you?
I am. Can you hear me?
Yes, welcome. I didn't get a chance to say welcome to you to the program. We're going to have a song now, and then we'll come back and say hello to you properly, and maybe talk about your role in this project.
Thank you.
Still here, still queer, breaking down the intergenerational barriers with laughter and insight.
And welcome back to Still Here, Still Queer. And tonight we have two amazing people. We have Rowena Doo, the program lead of the Pride in Aging. I always get it the wrong way. And Merrin from Golden Plains. Hello, Merrin. How are you, Merrin Wake?
Hi, Peter. Thanks for having me.
Yes. Welcome. And tell us a bit about the Golden Plains and what your role is in coordinating that area.
Yeah, people might wonder where Golden Plains is. They might best know it for the Golden Plains Music Festival in Meredith Music Festival. It's often what I got told they know. And it's a peri-urban site that sits right between Geelong and Ballarat. Beautiful area, rural farmland, small towns, beautiful natural environments, but kind of borders right on some really growing, urban kind of influence from, the big towns of Geelong and Ballarat, and it sits beautifully on Wadawurrung and Eastern Marland. So very grateful to be working and planning things with the community on those lands.
Fantastic. And what's the role that you do as a coordinator out in the...
Keep me in line and keep me on my toes. Number one, isn't it?
Not sure there's a job that can do that, but my role is I'm one of 4 regional coordinators.
Yep.
And I think Rowena said at the start, it's, I've kind of lived and breathed this area for over 20 years now, down this way, and it's great to attend things in the city and Melbourne and things like that. And it's amazing to have this program actually in the regions with regional workers who know the areas. And my role is a regional coordinator. So it's everything, as Rowena said, from meeting people, having cups of tea. I'm based out of the Bannockburn, the Golden Plains Shire Council in Bannockburn.
Fantastic.
But kind of travel around the area and beyond to, meet community and talk to them really, which is a pretty good job.
But I also think too that what's interesting about Golden Plains, and it is meant to be different from the from the other ones, and because we're also doing a multi-year evaluation project, is that Golden Plains doesn't have a mainstream local health service, and so people are going to Ballarat and Geelong for a lot of their kind of needs or aged care services. And correct me if I'm wrong, Merrin, but Golden Plains is projected in 20 to 30 years years to be, to have like triple, quadruple the number of people. And
It's a big growth area out that way.
Huge growth corridor. And it's an opportunity for us, why it was chosen was as an opportunity to understand what people are doing in the sense of, going to Geelong and Ballarat, but also to what are the things that we can maybe be advocating for with government to make sure they're there on the ground floor, right, as they build these sorts of, population growth, whether it be infrastructure and resources, services or whatever. It's a really wonderful long-term opportunity for the queer community, right, to be involved in that.
And how? What are some of the stories you hear out in the Golden Plains, Merrin?
It's
You're
really
having
interesting.
coffee with a lot of people, and you must get the drift of what's happening out there. I'm really curious. Yeah.
Yeah, look, I've been in this area for quite a long time, so I guess I've known lots of people already, but stepping into this realm, particularly talking to older LGBTIQA plus people, it's, there's a mixture up there of really big rural farmland where people have either been there for generations.
Yep.
Golden Plains has a very, very quite long colonial history, which in itself brings... I think you said before, Peter, that, there's definitely some of those small towns where you think, I may not go out or I may not, be out when I'm out. But there's also some really big growth areas like, Lethbridge, Bannockburn, Linton, a few places like that where the community are kind of finding each other, and really trying to connect to that.
And sometimes those little towns are better at supporting people sometimes than big brand new suburbs, I imagine.
Some of the stories, I think, from the small towns, you're right, is often the community are, the local person who is the auntie or the local person who is the teacher or something like that. Yeah. They might not necessarily be the LGBTIQ person in the town, but they're kind of just known as other roles. So it's been really interesting talking to people and hearing things like, that, yes, I might be queer and be here, but really I'm the art person or I'm the teacher person or I'm the whatever person in the town. And it really, and also very intersectional stories around, whether that's being First Nations or whether that's having disability or any of those. They're kind of, sometimes in those small towns are seen very much for the whole of themselves, which is quite nice to hear.
And have you have any themes come out of the work that you've done out there in the region?
Yeah, definitely. I think Rowena kind of touched on it before about the decentering. Lots of the people that I speak to say to me, look, I moved out here to live on my farm, be happy. I don't need to, go out and put my rainbow along the street or anything. A lot of the people that live in Golden Plains do go to Geelong and Ballarat for, I guess, their pride fix or their, that's where the events are.
Yeah.
Others are just happy. Kind of at the moment, Golden Plains is an older population, and I no doubt, in the next 10, 15, 20 years, we'll see a lot more people, and that, there's been some challenges with events and things, and there's been some harm and stuff done, which hasn't been, a good recent history.
Right.
But also talking to some of the older people, I mean, compared to, I think someone said to me, compared to a comment on Facebook about an event, let me tell you what I've experienced. And it's really incredible to listen to their stories and hear, so many decades of advocacy and so many decades of showing up and being who they are.
And can I just add to that, Pete, that, the difficulties and the challenges, right, are also needing to be documented as well. We've heard from community, not one size fits all when it comes to either government or even our own community organisations' responses. And I think sometimes we can be thinking of, it's all great, look at what's going on in Shepparton, and Dalesford, and that, they'll certainly tell you all the challenges too behind what can look really nice and glossy. But it is really, it's a lot of challenge work there for Merrin in these areas, but we need to document them, and we do need to hear from them, and to make sure we're advocating up not only just to government, but just to community organisations and our own community.
And presumably the community organisations in the towns.
Yes,
as well.
Exactly.
Yeah. And what are some of the challenges that you faced? Either of you can come in, but up in Golden Plains, Merrin?
Yeah, I think in Golden Plains, it's there's 22, I think, different town plans and different small areas, which obviously with development and things like that and some of these towns are very, very small. With development and things, that's always a challenge, that some of these towns will literally almost merge into each other by the time they build on land. It has been a challenge for people to be. One person said to me that, look, I'm happy to go down the street or do whatever with my partner, but I definitely check into what I'm going to wear, because they're a very flamboyant kind of love colours and love rainbows. They definitely check in with what they wear, and I think Rowena's right that. It's really important to acknowledge that pain and harm before we kind of go, hey, let's have a big celebration of this. One of the other themes I've seen too is
holding hands wouldn't be on the cards either.
Oh, look, some of the towns are very different, but it's you're right, as you said earlier. There's some small towns which people do find it difficult, definitely, to be themselves. They've talked about there's big footy and netball clubs in the towns. The CFA is a very, very big part of Golden Plains. So, there's still some work to do with those kind of groups and places.
Do you have anything to add, Rowena, about the challenges?
No, I think, I'm just very lucky to have Merrin, because they're so well connected and so know that area and so incredibly trusted.
Yeah.
Because, to have those challenging conversations, you need somebody that someone feels they can, safely tell that to. So we're very lucky to have Merrin, who's so trusted in that community, because it is hard to share that. I mean, but it's really important information for everybody to be able to hear that and understand that. And what can we do better for even those, communities around Golden Plains? What can we do to be more inclusive for our older community, right? And, look, we hear time and time again, it's about the social connection, like I said earlier, and big transport. But things like the $10, rail fares for regional rural people, a lot of people have said that's been so life-changing for them. You know what I mean? So that is good feedback to government to say, keep that up. And it's like, what else can happen to help with that? So,
And there's the big policy stuff, but there's also the little day-to-day stuff, which is where all the problems start.
Yes, absolutely. But, we're trying to hold both of those spheres as well, not fixing the big policy stuff. But if we don't have the information, if we don't have the stories, it can be very easy to kind of not, put that as part of any policy or, solution.
Yep. Well, we'll go to a song now, but we might come back and talk about some of the stories that you've uncovered, without the names, of course.
Yes, of course.
Just some of the stories that you've heard when talking to people out in the regions. Still here, still queer. We'll tell you what to do. And you are on Still Here, Still Queer. I'm Pete Holmes. And normally Gillian is here too, but she rang in sick this morning. She's got a bit of a temperature. Hope you're doing well, Gillian, and listening to the show out there, because we didn't want people with high temperatures in the studio. Thank you very much. But we are actually live to air, so if you have any messages that you want to send to Merrin and Rowena, 0427 Joy 949, or email on air at joy.org.au, and we'll read them out. Now, Rowena and Merrin, what some of the stories that you must hear would be fascinating to our listeners, I think.
And powerful and, heartbreaking and joyful. Merrin, before we go to you, I'll share one of them stories. This is just what our regional coordinators will, get one or two of these sort of experiences a day.
Right.
One of the regional coordinators met with a community member, and they went, they connected and had a cup of, a coffee catch up, and they drove down to a spot close by the river and sat with takeaway coffees and chatted. This person opened up about how hard it is not knowing a single other gay person, and they shared a bit of their story and kept looping back to the isolation of being gay and alone. Our regional coordinator asked if she'd like to come to the coffee group, and she took a deep breath and said, I feel like a weight has been lifted. Yes. They chatted some more, and then our regional coordinator drove her home. Once they got to her house, she hugged our regional coordinator and buried her head in their shoulder and cried and said, I feel like I can breathe now. She says she now feels like maybe she's ready to be brave and tell her friend of 23 years that she's gay. And, that's having the touch point of our regional coordinator in that local area. That may never have happened, right? Just feeling that I'm not alone,
not.
right?
Yeah.
And there's something, and I'm now going to be connected in through a coffee catch-up with other LGBTI people. These stories, we are getting so much of that, right? And, so once again, it's really pushing the importance of that social connection is so valuable, visibility, having local people, being able to, take people and for them to see that. And, when we have some of those, events that we're at, small notes are being passed as well. Because as I said really early on, we're still building up that trust and accountability as well. So, that's a really important part of any of this type of work, right, is to really, really honour that when people give you or share some of their, story or a part of themselves, that we really honour it and we, really elevate or, deliver on what we say we're going to do as well.
Well, it immediately made me feel sad for the loneliness that person must feel.
Yes.
And it also made me feel happy at the end when she said yes. To
now
go
I can
along to the
breathe and
coffee
I can
group.
tell somebody else.
So it's
And
what
so
a wonderful story.
Yeah, and that's why having a community visitor program like Out and About is really important. But also some of the other stuff that we're doing, and I think Merrin, could talk a little bit more about the Golden Plains one, but I did just want to share that story, and because I was reading, hadn't been quite prepared that. I hope I de-identified that enough. Thank you.
You did.
Okay.
It sounded really good. And what about you, Merrin? Have you heard any stories there? I'm sure you have, many.
Yeah.
De-identified, of course. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think what you said, Peter, they are sad. They're hard to hear. They're, but they're also stories of, I don't know. I mean, I said to someone recently, you've got so much courage. They said, I hate that word. But, it's that thing that, you hear and you still hear. And, I met a person that I've actually known for many years who live in Golden Plains. And I knew this person as a First Nations person, and we've always connected through different work and always known that I've done kind of queer work, I guess. And, went to have a cuppa just to talk about the region and the lands and really get, I guess kind of some history behind particularly the countries that I'm on. And she told me that she was queer. I'd never known this about this person. I've known them probably 15 years. Right. They sat and told me, they said, look, I'm good. I don't need to be, throwing rainbows everywhere. But what I love is connecting with younger people. I love seeing the next generation. I love the intergenerational pride that they bring. I love seeing what I can teach them, but also what they can teach me. I love talking about the history, things like that. And that kind of led us to, I guess, the Show My Pride project that we're in the middle of doing at the moment in Golden Plains, because it was really something for them about, I don't want to just come and sit with a whole lot of older people. What I really get my fix from, I think they said, or my pride from, is seeing this younger generation coming forward and the changes, but also acknowledging that seeing them acknowledge, that there's been a history to this,
Yeah, a lot of history, obviously.
Yeah.
And does loneliness come up much? I imagine it would.
I think what I hear a lot, particularly from Golden Plains, it's different in other areas, is that it's less loneliness, I say, than more kind of isolation, because that's what I've always done.
Yeah.
And, it's almost being not okay with it, but kind of resonant that that's what I know this person particularly said to me. I don't need things to change for me. I've done my life. I'm here. I'm doing this. But what I need to see is that the world will be different, for other people.
Yeah, which is the most important thing, really, isn't it? Yeah.
And I think too that what everyone's touched on too is people necessarily don't want that busy city life in regional rural, and that's absolutely fine as
That's
well.
why they're
You know what I
there,
mean?
yeah.
When you talk about that loneliness, in some ways, some of them are choosing this kind of very isolationary, but it is that when they want to connect and how they want to connect, that needs to be easier and, more accessible for them, right? And particularly in any of those aged services as well. It's not just aged care, any of those aged services, they need to be feeling safe to go into that, you know what I mean? And, being able to be authentic. So it's all kind of tied up in that.
Yeah, well, we've got to go again to a little break, and then we'll come back and maybe we can talk about aged services and, the stuff that's happening in the regions with them. If there's
not
nothing,
my area of expertise there, Pete, but
if there's not much
I've got
happening.
strong opinions.
Well, opinions are welcome. All right, we'll be back in a short while anyway.
You're listening to Still Here, Still Queer, where rainbow elders rule.
And you are on Still Here, Still Queer, and we're talking about the Pride in Ageing project.
Got it right, well
I
done.
got it around the right way. It works the other way too, Ageing in Pride.
Yes, I think there might be another program called that. So, demarcation.
If not, there should be.
Yeah, demarcation speed. Woo!
Now, we've been talking about some of the stories, and I was wondering about aged care and whether you speak to many people in aged care and some of the stories we get from there,
Yeah,
or opinions or whatever. Yeah.
So my opinion, we are absolutely aged care. We go into those facilities, whether it be through our Out and About community visitor program, but also inviting to that. The difficulty just in relation to this project, though, we can't pull too many levers because, aged care is, predominantly federally funded and we're state funded. But we certainly, that's kind of more those structural big stuff that we, want to change.
And
but
I imagine that will go in the report to the state government.
They know that. So we are doing that kind of person-centric stuff, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yep. That's our focus. And trying to support aged care providers who want to do the right things. A lot of them absolutely do. But, when you think of, these are the personal opinions of Rowena Doo. When I think about, aged care facility, they're struggling. It's a deficiency-based model like NDIS. It's not a strength-based model. We're always just seeing what it costs, what a burden, all these sorts of, things. And, and I think that's really problematic as a whole. And a lot of the aged care providers would love us to kind of do some of the work that really, should be either done by them or the federal government. But we've got to be mindful of balancing that, but we also want to value that and prioritise the person in the aged care. So, you know what I mean? Trying to make their life better, make sure they feel safe, make sure they feel connected and they can live their authentic lives. So, for some of that too, we do advocating.
Actual stories from people that you have heard who are in aged care in the region?
Yeah, no, when very early on I got to visit somebody out in the region in an aged care facility, and they were, going through a transition of their gender identity.
Right.
And, and that was really confronting for the staff because, seeing someone with a beard but wanting to wear a dress, and, so it is that kind of, trying to hook them into education, but also giving them a community visit, someone who can visit them and they can absolutely feel safe and be what they want to be and wear what they want, you know what I mean? And not worry. Look, I think, there is, like I said, some really good aged care facilities who are really trying to do the right thing, but it is a cultural shift. It's an educational shift, and a lot of those services transient kind of staffing populations. So it can be very hard. You might do all the right training, but then the turnover because they're poorly paid, and all those other factors feed into it, about the quality of, support workers and, but they're badly, poorly paid. So it can be a very hard job to be doing. So, it's not just this one thing. There's so many of these other structural imbalances or injustices that play into it in that. But,
such a difficult issue, really.
Oh, God, yeah, you could, probably go on. But so we just try and focus on that person-centric element, right? What can we do to, get them connected, knowing what's going on? And, we've certainly got examples of people either in aged care getting our community visitor program or coming to some of the local events now that they know about them, those sorts of things.
Yep. And Merrin, have you any stories coming out of the aged care facilities in your area?
Yeah, I mean, look, aged care is a in a big state of change at the moment with lots of changes in regulations and things. But I think some of the conversations I've had in Golden Plains was about, you know, whether I go into aged care or not, I know that I'm going to need someone to care for me. And I want, whether that's in my home, whether I choose where I want to be. And that's really important. And I think when we've done a project that we've done 2 of the workshops, we've got 2 more coming up, called Show My Pride, which is with a First Nations artist. And part of that was about people finding other people, intergenerational people, to be there, you know, whether that's mob, whether that's someone in my small town or whoever that is. That's been really important. So the project is an intergenerational project, using, you know, art, storytelling, community connection, all of that together. And the amazing local artist, Queer First Nations man called Idris McChetney is running them. And we've got 2 more to go still. So we're excited about them.
Yep. And we'll come back with those dates at the end there, Merrin. I've checked with Pete. We'll make sure we have time. But I think what Merrin was saying too is that connection, that social connection that we can really focus on, that gives that support inside or outside of aged care. And I think, you know, that's a big fundamental issue that we can really address and help. And I think we have been over the time of the project and continue to be.
Sorry, I was going to say, one of the stories I had, Peter, was of someone who's in aged care who isn't necessarily, you know, living how they want to live, but they've got a visitor who comes in, a younger person who comes in, and they get to, what did they call it? We get to have our queer little conversations on the side, and that, you know, makes me feel really happy. So as much as there's lots of work to go, for me, it's that person-centred thing. It's what can we do in the meantime, and what can we do to advocate that to be different.
Yeah, and those one-on-one meetings sound like it's one of the most important things that you do.
Absolutely. They all like to drink coffee and tea, the regional coordinators. It wasn't on the interview panel questions, but it's good that they do.
Fantastic. All right, well, we'll go to this last little break and then we'll come back and get
we'll
some details.
We'll do shameless plugging of some things. Absolutely.
Plugging, and we'll wind up.
Still here, still queer, breaking down the intergenerational barriers with laughter and insight.
Okay, now, do you have any events on, or how do people get in contact with you as well?
Okay, I think, well, you asked a question before, that's that little break, and absolutely joy is a really important part of it for regional rural people, that, you know, it is a real connector point. I think the other thing that we hear a lot about is Q Life has been a really fantastic support for regional rural communities for over 32 years from Switchboard, and continues to be. And so that's why we're really, really grateful to, we've had, like you said, you had Peter Norton on previously. We're doing 2 shows. It is really important. And so we really encourage people to go to our it's probably the easiest way is just go to switchboard.org.au/pride in aging. Get the right order there, Pete. And then you'll come onto that page and you will get to see where all the regional coordinators are. And
there's even lovely pictures of them.
Yes, there is. Yes, done professionally.
Radio's not very good at pictures.
No, and all their contact details. And the best thing then is then reach out, whichever, you know, method works best. So I'll say that again for all those listeners in the back row there. Switchboard.org.au/pride in aging. But Merrin will talk about these events that she's been talking about coming up. They're walking, right? So, or you can read it like it's really open, and we know that can be challenging for people to go, I don't want to put my names. Come along. It's a lot of fun. We have food, free food. And yeah, Merrin, over to you.
Yes. Have you got anything coming up in your area?
Yeah, we've got our 2 workshops called Show My Pride Project, like I said, which is with a partnership between a First Nations artist, Idris McChetney, and Switchboard and Geelong Regional Libraries. We've got our next one this coming Thursday, the 26th of February, at the Corio Library.
And where can people find out details? Where can people find out details of it?
So they can find that either on the Geelong Regional Libraries website, but also on Switchboard socials.
Yes.
And then we've got we've got
our own socials too now, Merrin, which is the Pride in Aging. We've got our own socials on Facebook, our own page, Pride in Aging Connecting Older LGBTI Victorians. So you can go straight there or Switchboard or whatever. And sorry, Merrin, I talked over the big one in March.
We've just got the last one on the 12th of March in Torquay. So another peri-urban site, which will be great. And they're all in late afternoon.
Mm-hmm.
That's fantastic.
At the regional, at the library there.
So
and all free, just turn up, no registration
accessible,
needed.
Wheelchair accessible, very low noise. It's, very accommodating to everybody and just really a nice way to be connecting and talking about pride through art and,
I'd love to see some of the art.
Well, no, absolutely going to be showing it, displaying it. So,
fantastic.
Yes.
Yeah. Hopefully at the Pride Centre. Sometime.
Paul will be taking up a space. Thank you very much. Next exhibition.
Or maybe regionally first.
Good. Thank you, Merrin. Merrin always.
First. Yeah, definitely.
Thank you, Merrin. Always keeping me on my toes. Get away from your city-centric, Rowena. That's why we have place-based workers, right? They make sure that we always keep regional rural people in our focus.
Yes. All right. Well, we've got 30 seconds left before David comes on with the Jazz Show. So I just wanted to thank you for coming in this week.
Thank you, Pete.
Thank you, Merrin, for sharing the stories and the events that you've got up in the Golden Plains.
Appreciate it. Thanks.
No, don't forget switchboard.org.au/pride and aging. And we hope to see as many people as possible at Show My Pride this Thursday at the Corio Library. Sorry, Merrin. See, you're still teaching me, honey. You're still teaching me. That's at 4:00.
All right. Excellent. And we'll see you next week as well, Rowena, with one of your
with
other
another
coordinators.
guest star. Yes.
Fantastic. All right. See you next week.
Thanks,
on
babe.
Still Here, Still Queer.
You damn right.
On Joy.
Thanks for listening to another Joy podcast, brought to you by Australia's LGBTQIA+ community media organisation, Joy. Help us keep Joy on air. Head to joy.org.au. Joy, a diverse sound for a diverse community.